Well, first, thank you for taking the time to do this. It was exciting for us to see Yamaha coming out with some new product and all this madness, and we're like, yes, we finally have something fun to talk about.
Yes, it definitely is fun.
So I'll admit, when I first saw this new Helm Master EX for single outboard applications pop up in my inbox, I thought, how are they going to do that? How are boats going to be able to move sideways and stay in one spot with one engine? And then I read a little closer, and that's not really what this is about, right? But there's still so much functionality and, being able to maneuver your boat with just one hand and a lot of autopilot functionality. And so I guess if you want to start, Rye, just introduce yourself and kind of jump into some of the high points here.
Okay, so I'm going to flip my camera around so you can see all this. See if I can do that. I think I know how to do that. Okay, so I'm sitting here at the helm on this, and I'm leaning way back. As you can see, is the new Sea Hunt. It's a 2021 model. It's their 239 Gamefish SE and Ultra, not a Gamefish, sorry. 239 Ultra SE. We have an F300 on the back. And what you're staring at now is the actual new control system from Yamaha. So this is Helm Master EX, and you can almost think of it as a second generation of Helm Master. So previously we had our control Command Link Plus systems, everybody referred to as DEC, and then we had Helm Master, which were two separately entirely different systems, as I'm sure you're familiar with. So what we really did now is we've basically redone all the digital controls that we currently use. And we really combined a lot of the features and the benefits that are part of the Helm Master system with the functionalities of a basic DEC system in a way that actually becomes modular and expandable for an owner. So just looking at the dash here, you can see we have a new single remote. So
that's beautiful, very sleek looking.
What's that?
I said it's beautiful. It's very sleek looking. I like that extra large handle to really get a good grip on.
I was the hand model for it during prototyping. I have about the biggest hands in the company, it turns out. So it was all about making a good solid feel where you can actually get fingers on your levers. You got your trim up and trim down. Yeah. Just below this, we actually have speed control. So, and that can be set for either RPM or GPS. So I can activate that, and then I get a little pop-up on my gauge. And that's the new CL5 gauge, by the way, that just came out with. And now I can just adjust whether I want my RPMs just by pressing the button that's there on the side, either up or down.
And I can really great at low speeds too, I would think, or trolling or making those really sort of tiny adjustments.
Absolutely. So, and just like on Helm Master, we had what was called pattern shift, where you start bumping the speed control down. So that was something we only had on Helm Master. If you had a DEC boat, you didn't have speed control at all. But now speed control is part of the basic DEC remote. So that's something that's available to anybody that's getting a digital motor. And you can bump that all the way down and activate pattern shift, so that as we go down lower and lower and lower and lower and lower, once we get to our minimum idle speed, that's when it goes into pattern shift, when it starts taking it in and out of gear automatically. So you can get all the way down to only 10% in gear and 90% out of gear.
Wow.
The question then is, how slow do you want to troll, is what it comes down to.
That's very cool.
Hey, Brad, do you want to come up here for a second? Take you to the back of the boat and show you something. Take the helm for me. So if we come to the back of the boat, the next major component here, I don't know how well you can see this, I can't see my screen. So this is the new bolt-on digital electric steering that we came out with. And basically you can think of this as the digital electric steering that was on the XTO, but now in a bolt-on format.
Okay.
So, and this is compatible with basically the 150 and up.
That's
and it
great.
gets all the same benefits that you have on the XTOs, where you have your variable lock-to-lock, your variable steering, when it's not actually being current draw, so you have more capability. And as you can see, it's just a bolt-on in place of hydraulics. So all you have coming off is you got a power wire and you got a steering sensor wire. And those come into your standard bilge And then once you get inside the bilge, it's actually just electrical connections. There's no actual hydraulic pumps or anything in there anymore. So all that's totally gone.
That's huge. Less maintenance. I've on the XTO anyway, it was super smooth, just a great system, and I love having less to deal with and more room back there.
Right. And that's not only do builders like that, but it's also, like you said, it's a lot more sensitive and it's a lot more accurate than your traditional hydraulic steering. So as we start moving into other components now, once we have the basic DEC control, we have the digital electric steering on it, you now have an autopilot system that can be added. So, and it's got 4 main features: heading hold, course hold, track point, which is your traditional autopilot, and then pattern steer, which is setting up either a zigzag or a spiral pattern. And as you can see right now, we're in track point. So what we did is we actually set up some waypoints, and we got an active route on our Garmin MFD. And once that route was active, you hit track point, get to the speed you want to go, and then it does all the turning for you until you get to that final waypoint. Wow. And one of the newest things for us, and this is all new in the market, is once we get to that last waypoint, the boat will actually automatically start to decelerate and then automatically enter into one of the set point modes that we can set. So we got 4 choices. We can have no deceleration, we can have deceleration only, we can have it automatically go into fish point, or we can have it automatically go into stay point.
Okay, but is the stay point is not the same as if you had dual engines, right? Where it would really...
Correct. So we are on a single now. Stay point does not work. So if I come over here to the joystick, which is the last component that we could add, you got your joystick button, drift point, fish point, stay point. Stay point is non-functional in a single application. Okay. And then additionally, you now have adjustable thrust levels over here. So previously on Helm Master, when in joystick, we had a high mode and a low mode. We now have actually 5 levels that you can adjust on the fly, depending on how much force and thrust you need.
Gotcha. And so you could drive full speed with the joystick, or is it similar to prior Helm Master where it's really more for a lower RPM kind of?
It's still for lower RPM. So you get about 1800 RPM out of it or so. But to be honest, when you're operating a single engine boat using a joystick, it takes a little bit to wrap your head around, but once you do, it actually works really, really good. Even though you can't get the boat to go sideways, you're literally going to be moving the joystick and then just steering it like that.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, you know, and the fact that it doesn't move sideways, but if still when you're docking and you have the wheel in one hand and the throttle in the other, and you're trying to look around, it can get a little cumbersome. And if you just have to do it all with one device, I would think it still is a big tool in those tight areas.
Yeah. It is, and if you really think about it, so if I'm doing really slow speed maneuvers and I'm like pulling into a dock and I'm going full lock to lock, even if I have the wheel set at 4 turns lock to lock, that's still a lot of turning for me to pull the back of the boat in. Whereas if I'm using the joystick, all I have to do is this, and I just went lock to lock.
Ah, that's a great feature.
So, yeah, so it's like I said, it takes a little bit of getting used to, just because it's just not what we're used to using, basically, to dock a boat like that. But once you start using it, it's actually surprising how good it actually works. It actually becomes really, really intuitive.
So with the electronic steering, is the motor responding faster than traditional hydraulic stuff? Ooh, you got some nice marks on your fish finder there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's Alatoona. You're usually lucky if you can catch anything out here. maybe some carp or something. I don't know. Might be a floating log down there. So, yeah, actually, because the electric steering is more responsive and is quicker than traditional hydraulic steering, getting it to go full lock to lock is actually a lot faster than using a standard hydraulic with the steering.
Okay. And I would think, too, a lot of these smaller boats that have single engines, a lot of them probably never would have used autopilot, I would guess. I mean, so does this just sort of open that up for people to, you know, have another tool in their back pocket when they're setting lines, or, you know, maybe they're just cruising with the family?
Oh, absolutely. And one of the big things is that we now have drift point and fish point. on a single engine boat, which traditionally you only could get with a full Helm Master boat, which was twins and up. So now those two fishing features are available on a single engine. So if you remember with Fish Point, I can actually get the boat to hold its position, but not its heading. And we can now do that with a single engine boat. And then with Drift Point, I can keep my heading, but not my position. So I can drift along a coast or something like that.
And so keep the bow where you want it, kind of thing.
Yeah. And so that's all come down. So what we did was we just got closer to our final destination and our endpoint, and you can see we got a pop-up saying that deceleration mode's activated. We weren't going very fast to start with, but if we were even going, say, 40 miles an hour on full plane, and the boat says, okay, I know my final point's coming up, I need to start decelerating now in preparation for getting to the endpoint. And as you can see there on our MFD, we're slowly inching up to it.
Okay, and that's interesting because some of the controls are so sensitive that when you do back off, if you're not careful, you send people flying.
Yes, and you know we're a pretty conscientious company, so it's pretty generous with how slow it wants to decelerate and the amount of distance that it gives you to get prepared. And the idea is that if I'm out and I got my track point set, so I'm basically an autopilot, and I know my point's coming up, this gives me an opportunity for the crew to start getting the line set, start getting things ready. As a captain, I can make sure that the boat's getting ready to go. So we're getting close to our arrival.
Oh, that's wild.
So we still got 47, 42 feet, which it's just letting me know on the gauge there. I don't know if you can see that.
Sure. And then it does it just drop it by like 100 RPMs or?
It just keeps idling it down. And what we just did is, so our deceleration is finished. To activate set point, shift all levers to neutral. And it goes automatically into fish point. I don't even have to press a button.
Okay, so now you're in neutral, you're drifting.
No, I'm in fish point right now.
Okay, so that's going to keep you at the heading.
That's right. So it's going to keep me right here at this point, but it's not going to keep my heading.
Okay, so it's not like stay point, but it's going to keep you pointed in the right direction.
Just my position. Say I'm like right over a structure or something like that. So if I knew this is where my structure was and I'm going to fish here, it's low RPM mode, so we're not getting a lot of motor movement, we're not getting a lot of shifting, it's not using a lot of thrust, and it's not making a lot of noise. So the boat's going to float around in this position and change its heading based on the current and wind, but it's going to do its best to keep us right over this spot.
Wow. And you don't need a bow thruster or any of that. It's just the single engine doing its thing.
Yep.
That's really great. So when is all of this going to be available, Rye?
We're going to be launching it to consumers July 1st. Oh, so we've already talked to our OEM partners about it, so they're aware of it. And we've actually briefed our dealers that this is going to be coming. And so now we're talking to all of you, so you can start building some stories, and you can see the motor's just doing its thing.
Very cool. Now, part of this is also a key fob, right? A keyless ignition.
Yep. So we have the all-new electronic keyless system, which comes with a key fob. Nice little thing, and yeah, it floats. So
that's good.
in the past, we had YCOP, which you may be familiar with, which was basically a security system. I could lock and unlock the motor and the boat so it couldn't be started. So this does do that. But additionally, what happens now is if I actually lock it, and I can just press the button to lock it, when I walk up to the boat and I have the key fob in my pocket, I can just walk up and hit the power button, and I can hit the start button. There's no key switch anymore to turn. I don't have to do anything else. So it's kind of similar to what you see in a lot of automobiles now, when you can just walk up in your pocket, you press the button on the door to unlock the door, you get in your car, you press your button to start the car.
Sure.
Same concept. Same exact concept.
Is there some anti-theft benefit to that?
Well, sure, because with this, I can lock my motor and my remote down just like I could using YCOP as a theft preventative. And at that point, there's a little red light here that blinks that lets you know, hey, this motor's locked, and if I don't have the key fob with me, you can't start the motor.
Okay, and if you happen to misplace that thing, is it you just go to call a dealer? Is it how do you get
So there's two ways. One, you would have to go to a dealer to get a new one. Say I accidentally lost it. You know, I lost it in the water, it floated off. I don't know where it went. A fish ate it or something. There's actually a method for starting the boat using a code that comes with the key fob. So you actually hold down these two buttons for 3 seconds, and you do a whole little pattern thing to basically enter in your secret code, and then that unlocks the boat, and then you can start it and run it as needed to get home.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Knowing me, I would probably lose it.
It happens.
It happens. And trim assist, I saw that in some of the literature you sent. Can you run through that real fast?
So trim assist is that was something that was also just previously part of Helm Master system. That now becomes part of the basic DEC remote. You do need to have a Yamaha gauge to configure it. And basically the concept there is what we're going to do is we're going to enter in certain RPM, certain trim levels. And usually this is going to be done by the manufacturer on a per boat basis. And when it's activated, as I start to throttle up, the motors will automatically trim to a certain position. So that way as an operator, I don't have to think about it basically. It's a really good feature for people who are newer to boating. Particularly for boaters who aren't familiar with outboards in particular. So if I'm coming in from like an inboard boat or something like that, or even a jet boat style boat, and the whole concept of trimming is totally foreign to me, you can have that feature activated so you not only still get good hole shot, but you're also getting your best economy when you're back up on plane, and then still your best top speed.
Yeah, no, it makes such a difference if you trim the boat out properly when it comes to fuel burn and speed.
Absolutely. And, you know, obviously in more experienced boaters, you can still control it yourself using the trim button.
Okay, so is that new control, the new throttle, is that going to be standard, or is this all optional stuff?
So this is our new standard DEC remote. So it's going to actually eventually replace the current DEC remotes. And along with that, you pick up a lot of those benefits that are now part of this, even if you don't have the digital electric steering. You still can have the trim assist, you still get the speed control. So there's a lot of little benefits to that in each little stage.
That's great. I knew when the XTO came out that electric steering was going to find its way throughout the model line because it's just so efficient and smooth, and it's just a better way of doing things.
Oh, definitely. I agree 100%. And some of the other things we can do, these are some of the other little improvements that we've made to the system compared to their comparable counterparts in the Helm Master system. So in Helm Master, we had fish point. We could actually reposition the boat using the joystick. So I can bump it left or right, and then that'll move our target position. I just moved it 10 feet to the left. The port, I'll move it one more time. We can stack it 20, 30, 40, 50. So the boat's now going to basically slowly drift itself over to 50 to the port side. And that's like, say I'm over a big wreck and I want to move to the other side of it because I'm not hitting fish.
Yeah. Oh, that's slick. And you mentioned too, it has a zigzag and another course sort of heading. So if you were trolling and you wanted to zigzag over an edge or something, I imagine that's what that's for. And can you adjust how far it's going in either direction?
Yeah, so you sure can. So let me pull that up for a second. Get our autopilot menu.
Because even on a lake, I would think that's a nice tool to have if you're just really focused on one depth or something.
Yep, so you can see right here, I got my pattern set, which currently isn't set to anything. I got my final track point mode. That was our autopilot confirmation. Get it out of that mode for a second here. So on that final deceleration, you can see there we have fish point, drift point, deceleration or no deceleration. But talking about the pattern set, I have a choice of spiral or zigzag. We're going to hit spiral. I can pick the direction, starboard or port, whichever direction I want it to go. My initial radius, we can say, this is a small boat, so we'll do 40 feet. I can change my spacing after that. We'll put it at 20 feet once again. And if we're ready to go, what we'll do now is we're just going to actually, you ready, Brad? Yep. Put it in gear. We're going to get it up to whatever speed we want. We won't go too fast because we're on a crowded lake right now. And then we're just going to hit our pattern steer button. We got to hold it down for 3 seconds. And we now have spiral activated.
Look at that.
And I'm going to use speed control because I want to go a little bit faster.
You're just going up by 50 RPMs.
Yep, 50 RPM increments.
And there
And
she
like I
goes.
said, that can be configured to be done by speed also, depending on if that's what an owner wants. So it's either one.
So if you're pulling a tube around with the kids, you could really send them on a joyride this way.
That would be evil, Charlie. That's just evil.
Can you lift up the phone a little and show me how it's running?
Yeah, so it's just, we're just sitting here going, cruising around in a little circle. You can see the motor is just slightly steering a little bit, and it's just pushing us out in a bigger and bigger and bigger spiral. So if one of my buddies said, hey, yeah, there's a Great Depression out there that's hitting fish right now, but he didn't have the exact coordinates, I could move off into an area, and you can see here, we're slowly increasing this little spiral out. We got a bunch of tracks on this from the other day when we were out here. And it's just going to keep spiraling out.
That's neat.
And that way I can start at an initial point, and then I can slowly work my way until I find whatever I happen to be looking for.
Very cool. And if you want to stop it immediately, what do you just
shift it back into neutral? I can hit my pattern steer button, or I can take command of the wheel.
Oh, so easy to just take it out.
Yep.
Wow.
You can see we're just still spiraling away, and it's just slowly pushing itself out.
That's clever. Very, very cool. What is, have we pretty much touched on everything you think we should mention with our readers? Is there any other cool little tricks you'd like to show us?
Oh yeah, there's more.
But wait, there's more.
Yeah. So if you remember, we had drift point before, right? Mm-hmm. So, and if I hit drift point right now, what it's going to do is it's going to keep my heading, but not my position. So that way, if I'm drifting and I got lines out, the boat always stays, say, parallel to the current. And that way my lines are always going downstream and I'm just drifting along. What we can do now is if we actually set up a route in the gauge, we're going to set up a route real quick. Route 2, that's my endpoint. Add a turn. I'm going to say I'm done. So I just set up a route, just like I would for my autopilot, right? Well, now if I hit my pattern steer or my drift point button, I'm going to go into what's called drift point track. So what's going to happen now is it's actually going to use forward and reverse motion to allow me to drift along that route.
Wow.
So say I got like right where I'm at now, where I got a bunch of houses and docks and stuff like that. If we don't have much of a current, so it's not going to do too much for us right now. But I can set the boat like we are right now. I'm facing the shore. If I had a good current coming along here, I could actually have it move closer and farther away based on the contours of the shoreline.
How about that? That's really neat.
And so the motor's back there. It's just steering and shifting and doing its stuff.
And did you have to add a different clutch or something with all the shifting, or is it all?
No, because it's all electrically shifted. It's the digital shifting. It's real quick, so it's no problem. That thing's made to shift.
And it's quiet. I don't hear anything.
We're getting a little bit, but it's no different than what you've ever seen from any of our other motors. So the programming, we did all the programming in-house. And one of the main intentions was getting it to shift less and use less throttle and less steering. And that was something that a lot of attention was actually paid to.
Oh, that's fantastic. And this is, you said 150 horsepower motors and up?
Yep.
Okay. Do you think there would be use in the smaller engines as well down the road?
Possibly, but it has to be a digitally electronically controlled motor. So as of now, it's the 150 and up from us is digitally controlled.
Okay. And I would think that's pretty much the heart of the market on these, 20 to 28 foot boats or something.
Yeah, because, and you get to the smaller horsepower motors where everything's mechanical, that becomes really price sensitive. So when you start adding a lot of these digital features, that can really increase the price. And all of a sudden you get these little small boats with a 115 on it, and it's priced a little too expensive for the consumers in that price range.
Sure. Well, it's an exciting thing. I can't wait to I wish I was out there with you. I guess my last question, having hung out with you in the past, I know your socks are always fun to check out. So do you have some coronavirus socks on today or something?
Okay. Hang on, even better. So
let's see the socks.
Okay, so back to me, right? So I didn't actually do socks today. I actually did shoes.
Oh, what is that? Oh, little flags of fish. Ah, right. Well done, my friend. Way to keep the American spirit.
Doing my best. Doing my best.
Well, thank you so much for giving us this, virtual tour of the new Helm Master EX and getting us on the water. I wish I could be out there with you. Hopefully all the world gets healthy and we can go out and do it together and have some fun on the water.
Yeah, I agree. Well, there's definitely families out here today doing it. So as you can see, you got some kids on a tube being pulled behind a pontoon.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good for the psyche.
Yeah, they're practicing social distancing out on the water. So
that's the best place for it.
So anything else I can answer for you or play with or show you?
Yeah, I mean, unless there's something I forgot that you would love to show us. Other than that, I think we have a good handle on it. And I'm sure as we get, closer to July when it becomes available, and we'll be learning a lot more about it. It sounds like it's something you got to kind of get out and play around with anyway to really to get a true feel for it.
Yeah, and every time we describe the joystick to people, which let me show you that just real quickly, just because that is funny because it is so different. But you're going to watch it and you're going to be like, okay, yeah. Until you actually get out on a boat and actually try it, you won't understand how much fun it actually is using the joystick to drive a boat like this around. So we'll put it in joystick mode. I can change the level here. You can switch the camera again. So I now have my different thrust levels. We can go all the way up to 5. Let's go for full power. Ready, Brad? So, and just like you did with previous Helm Master, you just press it.
And you can get up on plane with it?
No, so we're limited to, right now we're at 1,300 RPM. So it's pretty much for slow speed operation. But we're moving at 7 miles an hour. And now if I want to turn, I just turn and...
There she goes. Look at that.
And like I said, the impressive part is how fast you can go from lock to lock. So I'm going to back off the throttle here, make sure we're safe. I'm going to turn around and show you the motor. You see the motor all right?
Yes. Yeah, it's almost instantaneous.
Yeah, so that's going full lock to lock.
And normally that would be about 4 cranks of the wheel, lock to lock, you said?
If that's how I have it set. 7. Usually it's 7 for most hydraulic systems. So remember, because usually on your hydraulics, it's locked. Whatever your steering is they want to make sure you're safe at high speeds, not at slow speeds. So with this digital system, we can actually have that as a variable system. So we can go from 4 to 9, and then we actually have that change throughout the RPM range. So at slow speeds, I could have it set to steer real quickly. Whereas once I'm up on plane and going 50 miles an hour, I can stretch that out to 9 turns lock to lock. So I don't make any really sudden movements of the boat that could throw somebody out.
And it just does it automatically, depending on the RPM.
You got it. And Neil said that was something that wasn't really possible with hydraulics.
Yeah, that's cool. Very, very slick. And that looks like a beautiful boat, too. You said it's the Sea Hunt 239?
Sea Hunt 239 Ultra. SE. You see that there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ultra.
It's actually a gorgeous boat, to be honest with you. So,
a lot of space, nice little forward benches, and
got our PFDs. I'll give you a little tour of the boat while we're on it.
Looks like a great family boat. Nice little.
Got a decent little fish box down here. I'd probably use it as a beer cooler personally.
I like your style.
Got another one there.
I think.
Yep. And then we got just big enough. You gotta ignore the wiring because we just finished getting this boat rigged, and we're still tidying it up, to be honest.
Okay.
But got a decent sized little head here. They'll say that'll be all cleaned up, but I can show you some of the components. So previously we had lots of controls and other things that were part of this. That's actually cut down now. So here's the digital helm, which now just plugs in using some wires. You have right here, this is actually the receiver for the electronic key system. So that's actually the box that communicates with the key itself. You got the ECM over here, which on our older DEC systems, we had a big, huge aluminum box that came off the bottom of the remote. And that could be a challenge for some people to install in some configurations, especially like on second stations. So what we did now is we actually separated out the ECM from the remote itself. So that's actually the bottom of the remote right there. And once again, it's just got some wires that come off of it. You got your switches right here. This is actually the boat control unit, which we actually have another one plugged in because we were doing some testing. So there's the boat control unit. That's actually the brains of the autopilot and the joystick system. And that's really all there is to the whole system.
Okay, so installation is not a huge headache or anything.
No, it's actually dramatically reduced. And that's one of the things that a lot of our builder partners were really, really happy about, was the fact that this is going to be a lot easier to install on the boat and a lot easier for them to configure because they can do a lot more with it and they don't need to make as much space for stuff. So in the back here of the boat, just to keep moving around, we've got a nice Yamaha cooler down there. Got tackle drawers, sink.
Really nice.
Nice little seating pad. They have these great little charging stations. So on a run out, I can charge my phone or on the way back.
And that's a seat right there?
Yeah. No, it's a footrest. Sorry, I'd sit on it, but.
Oh, look at you. Killing me.
So you got some cup holders. Got a good old standard rocket launcher.
Great boat. What kind of speed are you getting with the 300, the F300 on there?
What'd you see speed-wise, Brad? 5152. 5152.
That's perfect.
We got our batteries here. You got a nice sized door here on the side.
That's handy. It's probably a boarding ladder too, I would think.
Yeah, there's a little boarding ladder that can be added onto it. Since it is a boat for adults, you got your nice wine glasses already here and your wine holder. Little cutting board for the cheese. Of course, you got to have your cheese knife.
That is fantastic.
A lot of nice details here on the boat. You got your forward window vent, your typical
hydraulic
stuff. Lights.
What else? Man, I've seen it all. I feel like. Thank you. You're making me jealous, but it's exciting. It's great to see some new product, and as soon as we can, we'll get out there and do some more coverage as well.
Yeah, definitely. So can't wait till we can get you to run on one. So needless to say, being able to control a boat with a joystick and having drift point and fish point on a single engine is huge. There's nothing like that in the market. And I think that's going to open up a lot of different opportunities for boats of this size and for customers to be able to use that thing. So, you got all the features of the autopilot system. So even here on the lake, just using autopilot's nice because I can just set it up to run. Mm-hmm. You got the pattern steer. It's a lot of benefits for single engine boats that previously were never available.
Yeah, and some safety features too. The deceleration and those kinds of things, and Yamaha's always been great about that. So
we try our best. So, and then this is obviously available for twins, triples, and quads also. And those remotes actually use the same base. So on the twin, it's the same base. You'll pick up extra buttons here, and then you'll have a second lever on it. So it actually looks identical to this.
Okay. Well, thank you, sir. Enjoy the rest of your time on the water there.
I'll switch back over. I'll try to. I will do my best, Charlie.
All right, Rye, you're the best. Appreciate it.
No problem. Good talking to you, Charlie. Take care.
Yeah, take care. Be safe.
No problem. I will. And if you got any questions, don't hesitate to reach out and ask.
Appreciate it.
All right. Take care, man.
Alrighty.